everybody. This is Darren Redmond. And you know, the old saying, why the windshield is bigger than the rearview mirror? Because you look back small, you look forward constantly. And I'm
Yeah.
going to look back rather quickly with my next guest, and we're going to talk about things going ahead. Erykah Hall and I have worked together in addiction in the past. And I've always thought from the jump that Erykah is somebody that has empathy, has knowledge, has a vibe of caring, of grace, and will be doing great things. We worked together on the West Coast. She's now brilliantly in Ohio, and I'm on Cape Cod here in the East Coast. And we talked once again. I talked to Erykah Hall, the founder of Authentic Self by Erykah Hall, again for the first time. Erykah, how are you, my friend?
I am doing good and I'm so happy to be here. And I just look forward to our conversation for sure.
I've wanted to talk to you for quite a while because I saw you building your social presence, your social media presence.
Yeah.
I saw you the work that you're doing, getting your master's degree, and if you can, just to sort of bring people up to date, tell them about yourself and about your platform and things that you're doing, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, so I am currently a mental health therapist. I got my license to be a licensed professional counselor. I am moving into more of trauma therapy, so I'll be getting my certification in that soon. And now I currently work with older adolescents and adults with all different types of diagnoses. And so, yeah, like I am very big on psychoeducation as well, which is why I started that platform of Authentic Self, which
Mhm.
is really just like me educating people on mental health and providing tools to help them to overcome. Um, that is like my passion, my heart, because I feel like when people have language for what they're experiencing, that can lead to them overcoming, with coping strategies and with the use of therapy, medication, whatever. So, yeah, that's a little bit about me. I love to encourage people, I love to educate people. And that's something that's like a burning passion for me.
So again, without going into any specific detail in general,
Hmm.
I asked this of people who became concert violinists or people who went into
Yeah.
sports. How did you find this to be your calling?
Yeah, that's a good question. So as you know, friend, I am a woman of faith. And so
Mhm.
prayer is something that I do always. And so I remember being an undergrad actually when we were back in California and just kind of praying and asking God, like, what am I doing with my life? Like what are you calling me to do? Because for most of my life I was an athlete and that was my identity, and so I didn't know anything outside of being an athlete. And when I got to college, I knew I wanted to be somewhere in the helping field, but I didn't know exactly what that was. And so around my last year of undergrad, I believe like God showed me he wanted me to get my master's in mental health counseling, which then made my journey in undergrad make more sense.
Mhm.
In undergrad, I had went through a severe like depression, and that was like my first introduction to mental health and therapy. Because before then, I had never experienced any type of depression, or I wasn't aware of depression and anxiety and different things like that. So um it kind of made my journey make more sense as I transitioned to like getting my master's and becoming a therapist.
So I just want to throw a lot at you, and again, pick it like a buffet. Pick the pieces that you want to talk about.
Of course.
You know, generally speaking, somebody who is maybe in their 20s or their 30s um, might be open to what you bring to the table.
Hmm.
But and I think you can help people there immensely. But I
Yeah,
think people who are in their 50s, 60s, 70s need that help even more in some cases
absolutely.
because they've been carrying that stuff around. And by the way, raise the hand right here as somebody
Hmm.
who truly believes that, between faith and help, that the kind of help that you're talking about providing saved my life.
Right.
Truly believe that.
Hmm.
Um, because there's still that culture out there that says you don't talk about you seem weak, or what are you, woke, or whatever
Mm,
the case may is. No, I got trauma. And sometimes I don't know what my trauma is. I just know that I'm sad. I just
right,
know that I feel bitter. I just
right.
know. I mean, how do you, just talking generally speaking, start to
Mm.
unravel that and let people trust you to be able to say, hey, put age to aside here. I can help you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just to clarify, are you speaking as like me as a therapist or just like me as a friend trying to help you?
Both, really,
Okay.
both, because we don't sit in silos, right?
Right,
You're a therapist who can be a friend. I'm a special
right.
education teacher who can occasionally do a podcast really badly.
Stop.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I mean. Both.
Yeah. So, um, and I hope you don't mind. I'll probably be
Oh,
reflecting
please.
a lot like on my own journey. But I think
100%.
I began to unravel that in therapy with a therapist.
Hmm.
Um, and that wasn't an easy transition for me. I had a couple very influential people in my life like really push going to therapy and needing that help. What I didn't understand and know at that time was I had so many cultural barriers
Hmm.
that were preventing me from getting that help, right? So
Hmm.
there was that idea of being, the strong, independent Black woman. And
Sure.
there was that trauma from childhood of like, everything was, my fault. And I just had to be better and I just had to do better. And
Hmm.
so I remember my first probably year of therapy. I feel so bad for my therapist, but I would go into the office and like not say a word,
Right.
like
Right. Right.
I would just sit there and sometimes cry
Hmm.
because I didn't know how to express myself. And
Hmm.
so I think that when you talk about how do you begin to unravel, just that first step
Hmm.
just that first step of going into a therapy office is huge and tremendous. Even if you go in and you feel as though like I don't have the words to say,
Hmm.
we're used to that. We're used
Right.
to people coming to our offices and not even knowing where to begin. And I think as that rapport builds with you and that therapist, of
Hmm.
course, you'll feel more comfortable with just saying, hey, what is this? I'm experiencing some tightness in my chest every time I have a conversation with this person. They can express and let you know that that's some anxiety that you're experiencing. And I think it takes away from that negative belief pattern that like it's just you're the problem, which is something
Hmm.
I really struggled with. As a friend, I really take the route of like empathy. Like I think something that goes a long way is just being present and letting the person know that their experience is valid, because we sometimes, not even intentionally, people can be very like nonchalant, very dismissive of like your feelings and what you're trying to express. And so as a friend, a lot of times I'm just present.
Hmm.
A lot of times I'm just present and I validate like what they're experiencing. And if they invite me in to, give some advice or, ask like, well, how did you overcome it or whatever, then I share. But a lot of times I just try to be present and validate their experience because that goes a super long way.
So, I try to, I read a lot as you do. Yeah, I watch videos, learning.
Mhm.
Where do you find the right mix? And again, there's no finite answer to this, I'm sure, between
Yeah.
sharing experiences and not sharing experiences and just making it all about that person. And because I know it can get convoluted. I know I've been trained in some places, and I don't particularly agree with this all the time. Try to keep your personal experiences out of this.
Mhm.
How do you find your voice within that?
Yeah, yeah. And I'm so glad that you brought that up because even when I was thinking about like us talking,
Hmm.
part of part of like the training that we get as therapists is that you do not do self disclosure. Like that is something that they kind of drill into your mind. And for the people who are for self disclosure, it's more so do it at a minimal, or
Hmm.
do it only if it benefits the client, which I get that.
Right.
And so for me, I think that goes back to waiting to see what they desire from me, and so if I'm talking to someone and they're saying a lot of like, I just don't feel like anybody understands me, or I feel like I'm the only one that's experienced this, or something around those lines, and they invite me in to give advice or share some of my story, then I do. And I think it's part of it too is just a feeling. You just as you're in this field and you're growing and maturing, you just know like when to share and when not to share. Like with some clients, it's like they may have, like different attachment issues. You may not want to share so intimately about yourself with those specific clients. So I
Mhm.
think it just comes with like learning, experience and maturity. You kind of get like that feeling of what you can and can't share. Does that answer your question?
No, 100%. And um, yeah, because it happens more than we know, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I know, for example, I'm a big believer that clinicians
Mm-hmm.
and the therapists, and this is just Darren Redmond's viewpoint, and I'm no doctor, but then again, my initials are DR, right? We talk about that. So it's almost the same thing. No, it's not, people. I'm kidding. It's a joke. But
Hmm.
I believe that you cannot separate one from the other. But
Yeah.
I think that it's kind of all. And when I do what I do,
Hmm.
uh, the therapists, the clinicians, it's vital that I talk to them constantly
Right.
because that's important.
Right.
Um, I think that, and I know this from what we would sometimes do on the West Coast or whatever, but
Hmm.
just sitting with somebody for a while builds
Hmm.
trust,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And there's no need to listen to me give a spiel or even for them to come up with fake chatter,
Yeah.
but just sitting with somebody and letting them look comfortable and you can get those body cues
Hmm.
is important. I know I can sit with somebody, for example, who's had some trauma um, that would make people lose sleep. Let's put it that
Yeah.
way. And
Yeah.
when you sit with them for a while, and I would just sit, and it would look like two people just sitting.
Hmm.
There's a language there, and there's a
Hmm.
trust that is built there. Uh,
Yeah.
when you allow somebody to see you just be you,
Yeah.
talk about that importance for a second, if you can.
Yeah, that's important. And I think too, because like you said, we did, addiction work together. So even in my journey as a therapist during internship, I had some clients that struggled with addiction, and I even co-facilitated our intensive outpatient program for
Mm,
substance use. And so the culture of, addiction and people who struggle with addiction, they really want that like authentic presence. They
mm,
want to hear your story. They're encouraged by that. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
And so I think that that's very important to when you say you can't separate you from your work. In a lot of ways, that's true. They're going to want that relationship. They're going to want that, testimony. And
mm.
so go ahead.
Go ahead. No,
Sorry.
no, please finish up.
No, I was just going to ask, what was the question that you asked me? I started going and forgot.
No, it just kind of how you allow that to happen, and the positivity that may be in just allowing somebody to sit and to
Hmm.
feel comfortable with you, and
Yeah.
going from this to this to this to there's progress in that, isn't there?
Yeah, there is progress in that. And I think it first starts with you yourself. And so like we are trained to in our therapy to be okay with silence.
Mhm.
And so if I'm not okay with silence, if I'm not okay with just showing up and being present, obviously that's going to show up when, I'm working with a client or even with a friend. And so I think that the beauty of like my journey is because I started therapy around 18, 19. I worked through a lot of my trauma. Not that I've arrived in any way at all. I still
No.
have a long journey, but I worked through a lot of it. And so showing up and being present, and not allowing, their stories to like over trigger me, and just being comfortable and confident in like who I am also helps in those moments, with being present with somebody else, because they could feel that.
Oh
They
yeah.
could feel if your heightened anxiety, or if you're, all over the
Hmm.
place, or if you're uncomfortable with even what they're disclosing, like they
Hmm.
can feel and see that. So yeah.
No, I mean, and that brings up something else before I get onto authentic self I want to talk about. But just to put a bow on that piece, a great example of that is somebody that we both have interviewed in the past, and I'll bring up
Mhm.
Kevin Kaminsky, former NHL player,
Yeah.
um, who would talk about sometimes that we would go to the cigar place and
Hmm.
just sit and just smoke cigars, and that helped get him through.
Yeah.
Just having a bud, right? And again, that goes back to that friend slash therapist. What is it at that point? It's both, right? It really is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's both. I think the difference in so a boundary that I've had to also set too is um sorry, I lost my train of
No, that's
thought
right.
again. Oh
I've
yeah,
lived that way.
when it comes to friendship, it's like, a reciprocal exchange, so my
Mhm.
friend would be able to say, "Hey, this is my struggles, this is what I'm going through. Here, I want some advice." And I could do the same and be like, "Hey, I want some advice." But like when you're in, the therapy office, you can't necessarily ask your clients, "Oh, do you have some advice about my life?"
No, of course
But
not.
at
Right.
the at the same time, hearing their stories, hearing
Hmm.
what they're experiencing, I learned so much. I get
Right.
so enlightened about different things when I'm working with my clients that like I didn't even, know or like think of when it comes to healing and mental health and different things like that. So in that way it is reciprocal, but I think that's like the only like boundary between like, friend and therapist type.
And without giving too much away, because I bet you on, and again, it's just extemporaneous thought,
Mm.
that there are different ways and it's constantly evolving. But how do you protect yourself from becoming worn down or jaded? Or
Mm.
because let's face it, we hear about terrible things.
Yeah. That, Darren, is a forever, I feel like, learning experience. And so, even in my work, I have to be really intentional with my boundaries. Because some
Mm-hmm.
days, like, you have a full day and you're
Mm-hmm.
seeing, 6 or 7 clients, and you come home and you're exhausted. And
Mm-hmm.
so, in those moments of exhaustion, I give myself permission to just exist.
Right.
If
Right.
that means like my dishes don't get cleaned for another couple of days, that's what it
Mm-hmm.
means. If that
Yep.
means, I have to tell a friend, hey, I don't have the energy to,
Mm-hmm.
talk today, but I'll get back to you later this week. Like
Yep.
that's what it means. And then also, of course, like my faith in God comes into play. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times, like me praying, reading my
Yep.
Bible, that keeps me energized. And even the belief that like God called me to be a therapist, and anything he calls me to, he's going
Mm-hmm.
to give me the tools to get through. He's going to give me the energy to get through. Helps a lot. And so yeah, it comes with a lot of boundaries. It comes with a lot of like, what season are we in? I know
Mm-hmm.
sunlight really energized me, but
Me
living in
too.
Ohio, we don't have too much sunlight,
Right.
so
Right.
so it's finding other ways to take care of myself and what that looks like, and checking in on, what do I need? Do I need to be around loved ones, or
Mhm.
do I need to just be in the peace of my own home? So yeah,
Right.
the
Well, that's
relationship with myself takes a lot, or the relationship with myself has a lot to do with the self-care aspect.
you know, I learned that very, very late.
Mm,
And hopefully I'll be learning it for years. And but the old do unto others as others do unto you, as I paraphrase that,
mm-hmm.
means I gotta take care of myself as well.
Absolutely.
If I want people to treat me nice, or I should treat them nice, I should treat myself nice. And if that
Absolutely.
means that I can't be the comedy guy, I can't be the this or that, I need to be healthy. I
Yeah,
need to, and you mentioned I make sure, even if it's 2 or 3 lines, I read that Bible every day.
right.
I need to do that every day, um,
Okay.
and center myself. I want to talk about authentic, well, I want to hear about Authentic Self by Erykah Hall.
Yeah. So Authentic Self is recently a platform that I kind of launched, kind of going back to my heart for mental health and my heart for healing. And so it's really a platform to educate people on mental health and how that shows up, and not in a clinical way, right? So I'm not
Mm,
using, the DSM to type up my content, but really like how does depression show up in a day to day that looks different for everyone. That may
mhm,
look like isolation. Now I don't want to go into social events, or the lack of interest in doing something. Okay, what does that look like? I typically love going to the gym. I'm not going to the gym anymore. I'm not eating. I'm not doing this. So, educating people, and then also a transparent and vulnerable, platform. I
mhm,
truly believe that like people are inspired by hearing other people's stories. And I remember even on my own journey of like being in that dark space and desiring someone to say, hey, like I've been through this too. And not only like I've been through this too, but this is how I've overcome it.
mhm,
Um, because I feel like a lot of times in your mental health, when we're struggling, it can be that feeling of isolation. Like nobody understands me, nobody gets me, nobody. And so I really wanted to create a platform to educate and to encourage, inspire through authenticity,
mhm.
transparency, vulnerability, for all people.
Oh, that's excellent. That's excellent. And if somebody wants to follow that and join you on that journey, how may
Yeah.
they do that?
Yeah, so I am on Instagram, Facebook, and Threads. Um, and you can find me at Authentic Self by Erykah, and Erykah is spelled Erykah.
Mhm.
And so yeah, at Authentic Self by Erykah on Instagram, Facebook, and Threads. And yeah, I just post every day. Feel free to comment, ask questions. I'm all about like that personal, relationship with anyone who, decides to follow me.
Now, Erica, I'm telling you, people, it is the real deal. And I humbly ask for you to just give it a try, and she will help you immensely, or at least try to help you
Yeah.
immensely. Now
Yeah,
we got to ask the important questions.
of
You ready?
course.
Okay,
Yes.
because before I let you go, you live in Cincinnati, Ohio, rather, and um, talk to me about the chili. Have we had the Skyline chili? Have we had the chili in general? What's going on? I need to know. Inquiring minds want to know.
Yeah, I have not gotten around to trying the chili. I
Uh-oh.
think
Uh-oh.
I have
Uh-oh.
had many of opportunities to try Skyline chili
Hmm.
or even Gold Star, but just
Which,
the look.
very good. A lot of people forget about Gold Star. Very good.
Yeah, there's like this battle between Gold Star and Skyline.
Hmm.
Depending on the person, it will be like an hour and a half debate on what's better.
You're
But
rolling your eyes. You're like,
yeah, I'm rolling my eyes like this is not compared to In-N-Out Burger, Cold
thank
Stone.
you. Thank
Yeah,
you. End of story. End of story.
So yeah, I haven't gone around to trying the chili. It doesn't look appetizing. However, I may try chili dog in the next 5 years or so. We'll just we'll see.
Now, we talked a little bit before we went on air, people, and I mentioned that I drove from California to where we live now in Cape Cod, and I had to stop there to get the Skyline chili, to get the Gold Star chili, which I did not get, but I
Hmm.
know of. I went there for a business meeting in another capacity, and it does look awful. It looks
Yeah.
like somebody spilled sloppy Joe on some spaghetti, or
Yep.
spilled some sloppy Joe on a hot dog. But it tastes really good. It's like, well, you're like, it's all right. No, it doesn't actually doesn't taste great, but you walk away like, oh, that's pretty good.
Mm.
And people try to tell me what the secret ingredient is, and some say chocolate, some say cinnamon,
Interesting.
but it's wonderful. That's all I'll
Yeah.
say. Later on, you're like, wow, that was good. I'm going back. And so I give it two thumbs up after originally having it going. Now, like I went back, I was there for 2 days. I went 4 times. So
Wow.
yeah, I'm a big fat animal. I can't see my feet. But um, Eric, I want to thank you for being my guest today. What a pleasure
Of
this
course.
was.
Of
And
course.
you're just a wonderful person to work with. I love that how you're helping people. And um, thank you.
Thank you, Darren. I really appreciate you inviting me on here, and it's good to see you. It's been a while, so it's good
Yes, it's
to
been a while. Yes.
reconnect and talk with you. So yes, I'm very grateful and privileged for this opportunity.
And you're a blessing to the world. And
Thank you
thank
so
God for
much.
finding you and letting us work together. And we'll continue to do the work that we do.
Yeah,
Be
thank you.
well. Bye now.